That's really helpful and comprehensive, Ranjit. And I think connected to that, then coming back to you, Daniel and Ehsan, about the oil inventories. So do you guys have a view on how have the oil inventories shaped up in the lead up to and since the market collapse as well? So Daniel, probably you can start from a Middle East perspective, and Ehsan, then we can move into the European and US perspective as well. So Daniel, do you want to speak about the oil inventories?
Thanks. Yeah, I think within the Middle East, the most transparency that we see is in Fujairah in terms of sort of commercial stockpiles. And we see weekly stocks coming out of there. And we saw a record 15.5 million barrels of residual fuel in storage in Fujairah earlier this month. And overall, Fujairah has about 60 million barrels of crude and refined product storage with about a 20 million to 40 million split of crude to products. And while those residual stocks have risen in recent weeks, hitting that record, what's really critical is there's no available tanks for rental. So overall product storage, you need a certain amount, as we heard earlier, for throughput, for operational. And within Fujairah, you have bunker sales, so certain amounts of those tanks will be used for bunker sales. And the availability is the key, and it's just not there right now. If you picked up the phone to speak to any of the terminal operators within Fujairah, they do not have a tank available for you for rent. So the commitment has been made. So you won't always necessarily see it in those stocks week in, week out, which are very high. But in terms of is it available, it's just not available right now for you. So within the Middle East, we have seen a rise in the oil being stored. The crude, we understand, is full as well. So it's not there, and it's not easy to just build a tank. So people are now looking at that floating storage for refined products, looking at taking on long-range tankers, VLCCs, and just anywhere that you can try and store products, because just demand isn't there. These are transportation fuels, and we, as humanity, are not moving around the world as much as we used to, be it in cars, buses, aeroplanes. So the refined oil has to go somewhere, and it really is struggling to find a home in the end users, and it's struggling to find a home in landed storage tanks because they filled up.
Interesting. Ehsan, do you want to add European and U.S. perspective?
Yes, just adding to that. As far as the U.S. is concerned, U.S. crude stocks, commercial stocks are now above 500 million barrels, and they continue to grow. And if Cushing is full, then probably the rest of the country will also gradually start filling up. And probably, last week we saw a historic increase in crude stocks in the U.S. And if API data is a clue, we will see another build. We saw another build last week, and it's increasing at more than 10 million barrels per day, at 10 million barrels every week. And same is the case in the European Union. We don't have data for April. March was still okay as far as coronavirus is concerned. We still saw, European Union, EU 16 crude stocks increasing to almost to 485 million barrels. And in April, because refinery runs were cut, as a result, they will continue to grow. Daniel has a slide about world refining capacity and how much of it has been cut. If we look at it, if U.S. is the clue, in the U.S. refinery runs have gone down by almost 6 million barrels per day, and if we add then Europe, if we add Asia, refinery runs are down by around 13 to 18 million barrels per day, and this crude has to go somewhere. And if refiners don't want it, then probably it will result in storage is gradually filling up, and once you don't have anything left onshore, then some of it will will go to offshore. And I mean, I read a story from WOPEC. WOPEC said, WOPEC is one of the key storage company. They said that all their storages are fully committed. So as a result, as long as the virus continues to have impact on demand, storages are likely to be filled, and production cuts they will certainly result in some decrease, but they have come too late and probably too little. Let's see what happens. At present, it looks gloomy as far as storages are concerned. They will be full soon and probably have negative impact on prices.